My name is Rohit, and today we are going to start parliamentary system. And after the completion of parliamentary system, we will start with federal system. So today we are going to cover two topics. The first is parliamentary system and the second is federal system. So let us start with parliamentary system. Now, before I start the topic, first thing that you should remember, we are not studying parliament, we are studying parliamentary system. There is a difference between parliament and parliamentary system. Okay, because if you think that today we are studying parliament, then you might think that parliament is only at the center. But the system that we are studying today is not only at the center, but also in the states. So first thing that you have to remember, that the parliamentary system we have adopted from the Constitution of Britain. See, we all know that while framing the constitution, we took inspiration, we borrowed many things from different constitutions. So parliamentary system has been borrowed from the Constitution of Britain. Okay, so this particular thing has been borrowed from the Constitution of Britain. Second thing, parliamentary system is present at both the level. This system is present at both the level. The first level is the center and the second level is state. So it means the parliamentary system is at the central level and the same system is at the state level, and that is why while studying Indian polity we always make a comparison. That is, while studying president we also study governor. Same, when we study parliament we also study state legislature. With PM we study CM, because that are center, the same things are there in these states, because the system is what is there in the center, the same thing is in the states. So parliamentary system is present at both the level, at the central level and in the states. Now, what is the proof that parliamentary system is present at the level of state and center? So in center we have these two articles, Article 74 and Article 75. These two articles are responsible for establishing parliamentary system at the center, and for the states these two articles are responsible. So now we have the proof. For center we have these two articles, Article 74 and Article 75. These two articles are responsible for parliamentary system center, and these two articles for establishing the system in the state. Okay, moving ahead, at both the level. Now so Hello. Yes. Audible? Okay. Bitu, we have actually checked this from our side and everything is okay. 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 So, let us assume. Now remember, in a democratic government, there are total 3 organs. So whether it is India or USA, in both the countries you will find democratic government. So in India, there are 3 organs. In USA, these are 3 organs. Now remember, when it comes to the difference between the parliamentary and presidential, we have to remember that what is the relation between these 2 organs. To decide whether a system will be parliamentary or presidential depends upon the relation between these 2 organs. The relation of judiciary we do not consider the relation of judiciary. Why? In a democracy, judiciary should always be independent. In order to ensure that the country remains democratic in nature, it is very important that the judiciary in that country remains independent. So we will never try to figure out that what will be the relation of judiciary with the other 2 organs of the government. So in a democratic government, judiciary should always be independent. It should not be dependent or it should not be subservient to any other organ of the government. So suppose executive passed an order. Okay. So whenever executive makes any, for example, they have passed an order, okay, or for any act, if they are responsible to the legislature, so whenever executive is responsible to the legislature for whatever they do, then such a government is known as parliamentary system. So in a parliamentary system, the executive is responsible to the legislature. But in a government, if the executive is not responsible to the legislature, then such a system is known as presidential system. So if they are not responsible to the legislature, then we can call this system as presidential system or presidential government. So what is the difference between the parliamentary system and presidential system? The difference between the 2 kind of government is about the responsibility. In a parliamentary, you find these 3 organs independent. The relation between these 2 organs of the that parliamentary system is also called as we call parliamentary system responsible government. Parliamentary in a parliamentary system, the power is in the hands of cabinet. Okay, so the power is vested taken by in a parliamentary system. So there is parliamentary system. Yes, of power will be at the cabinet. Okay, so this is clear that why parliamentary system is called as cabinet government, because the power is with the cabinet ministers. I seriously do not find any issue from my side, Bitu. Let me check from my side that whether there is an issue with voice. Okay, there is no internet at the moment at present. Let me check this with technical team because
Hello, hello.
Hello. Uh, I hope now everything is audible. We have changed the mic. Now just tell me whether everything is audible. Is there any issue with the sound? Is everything okay? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let us resume. So, yes, moving ahead, the parliamentary system is also known as Westminster model of government. And now, Westminster. Why we are saying Westminster? Because the Parliament of Britain is located at a place called as Westminster. So, Westminster is the place from where parliamentary system originated. And that is why we also call parliamentary system as Westminster model of government. So, as you can see, parliamentary system is known as responsible government because the main feature or the main difference between parliamentary and presidential system is the element of responsibility. And the second, all the powers are with the cabinet, and that is why we call this as cabinet government. And the third, that this model of government is also known as Westminster model of government because of the location of Britain's parliament. Okay, so now we will discuss the features of parliamentary government. Now we all know that this particular government is present at both the level, center and in the states. Now let us see what all features are there in a parliamentary system. Okay, so now we will discuss the features of parliamentary system. Features of parliamentary system. So what are the features? The first feature of parliamentary system is the presence of nominal and real executive. Okay, so this is the first feature of parliamentary system. So wherever you will find parliamentary system, you will find this feature nominal and real executive. And now remember, as we all know that this system is present at both the level. So let us see whether the presence of nominal and real executive really exists. Okay, so first we will check this feature at the central level. Okay, now remember, nominal means for namesake, only the name is used, and real means who is actually exercising the power in his name. So nominal means namesake and real means who actually exercises the power. So now at the center, in whose name all the works are done. So at the center, it is the president in whose name all the affairs of the government, okay, are executed. But who is the reality? But I mean, who in reality does all the work? It is the prime minister. So at the center, president is the nominal executive because his name is used. But who actually does all the work? Who is responsible for doing all the things? And he is the prime minister. So prime minister is the real executive and president is the nominal executive. Now let us again check this feature in states. Now in states, in whose name all the works are executed, it is the governor. But who is actually responsible? It is CM. So now you all can see the same feature is present at both the level. At center, we have a nominal executive and real executive. And again, at this in the states, we have governor as a nominal executive and CM as a real executive. So now we all know that this feature exists at both the level, center and states. Okay, now let us check the second feature. So what is the second feature? The second feature is collective responsibility. The second feature is collective responsibility. Okay. Now remember this point, that collective responsibility is the foundation of parliamentary system. We all know the main difference between parliamentary and presidential was the responsibility. So collective responsibility is the foundation of parliamentary system. We can also write this in bracket that this is the foundation of parliamentary system. Now, what it means. I mean, what is the meaning of collective responsibility? Now, first of all, let us see at the central level. Okay, collective responsibility means all the council of ministers. Collective means all the council of ministers. Council of ministers are part of executive. Okay, all the council of ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. And what is Lok Sabha? Lok Sabha is the legislature. Now we all know that in a parliamentary system, executive is responsible to the legislature, and at the central level, council of ministers are the executive and Lok Sabha is the legislature. Now we all know council of ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. This thing is written in Article 75 Clause 3. In Article 75 Clause 3, it is clearly mentioned that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. I hope this is clear that collective means all the ministers, and all the ministers are part of executive, and they are responsible to the legislature, and the legislature is Lok Sabha. Okay, now let us see at the state level. So in states, again, there are council of ministers. See, these are central council of ministers. These are state council of ministers. So state council of ministers are also a part of executive, and they are responsible to the legislative assembly. And they are responsible to legislative assembly. And legislative assembly is the legislature present in the states. Okay. So again, we have justified that this feature is present at both the level. So now remember, if you have to form government at the center, then you require majority in the Lok Sabha. If you want to form government in states, then you have to require majority in the legislative assembly. So remember this. Okay. So I hope this thing is clear that collective responsibility exists at both the level. Okay. Now starting with the third point. The third is majority party rule. This is the third feature. Majority party rule. Now let us check whether this feature is present at the level of center. So at center, which party you find in power? It is BJP. Now why BJP is ruling? Because BJP has majority in the Lok Sabha. So the party which secures majority in the Lok Sabha is going to rule. So BJP formed Government of India. So why BJP was able to form government at the center? It was because the party which secures majority in the Lok Sabha, that party is able to form the government at the center. So now let us see whether this system exists or whether this feature exists at the state level. So in a state, let us take example of Punjab. So in Punjab, which party is in power? Aam Aadmi Party is in power. Now why Aam Aadmi Party is in power? Because Aam Aadmi Party was able to secure majority in legislative assembly. Because they were able to secure majority in legislative assembly, and that is why they were able to form Punjab government. So what we have to remember, if any party wants to establish a state government, then it requires majority in the legislative assembly. From here the state government is formed, and from here the central government is formed. Okay, so I hope the point is clear that why it is called as majority party rule. And where majority is required? At the center, Lok Sabha, and in the states, it is the legislative assembly. So I hope the third feature is clear. Now starting with fourth feature. The fourth feature is leadership of Prime Minister or Chief Minister. Now this is simple. Who is the leader at the center? It is the Prime Minister. It is under the leadership of Prime Minister. And in states, it is the leadership of Chief Minister. Now I don't have to explain this point. Okay. Yes, see, we do not have to explain this point. that why PM is the leader and why CM is the leader. We all know and we all have seen this in our life, that yes, at the center, the Prime Minister is the real leader, and in states, CM is the real leader. Okay, so this was the fourth feature, which do not require any, I guess this doesn't require any explanation. Now the fifth feature. So the fifth feature is dissolution of lower house. Fifth feature is dissolution of lower house. So dissolution of lower house means at center, lower house is Lok Sabha, and Lok Sabha can be dissolved by the president. So which authority is responsible for dissolving the Lok Sabha? It is the president. Okay, so the president has the power to dissolve the Lok Sabha, but this happens only when Prime Minister recommends. So it is only on the recommendation of Prime Minister that the president has the authority to dissolve the Lok Sabha. Without Prime Minister, president has no power to dissolve Lok Sabha. So in a parliamentary system, lower house can be dissolved, and we all know at the center it is the Lok Sabha, and in states, which is the lower house? It is the Legislative Assembly. So in states, it is Legislative Assembly, and now we all know if president is able to dissolve Lok Sabha, the same thing will be done by governor at this level, and here the CM will recommend to the governor that you dissolve the Legislative Assembly. So in states, governor dissolve the government dissolve the Legislative Assembly, and at center, president dissolves the Lok Sabha. Okay, so I hope this point is clear, that at center Lok Sabha is dissolved and in states Legislative Assembly is dissolved. But always remember, without PM or CM, president or governor, they do not have any authority to, or they do not have any power to dissolve the Lok Sabha or Legislative Assembly. So we are done with fifth feature. Now let us see the sixth feature. Sixth feature is oath of secrecy. Oath of secrecy. Now this oath is taken by ministers at both the level. So suppose you are appointed as a minister, then as a minister you are supposed to take an oath of secrecy. Now this oath of secrecy expects from you that you should not reveal any matter which came to you, which came to your knowledge as a union minister or as a state minister. So suppose I am a union minister and a particular matter came to my knowledge, then I am not supposed to reveal that matter to anyone. Okay, it should remain confidential. So, same is the case at the state level. So again, if a minister takes the oath of secrecy, then he is not supposed to reveal anything. So suppose there is a cabinet meeting and there is a discussion. So you are not supposed to reveal what all happened in the cabinet meeting. Ideally, you act as a team. See, Council of Ministers are like a team. They swim and sing together. So even if there is a difference in the cabinet meeting, still you are supposed to act as a team. You cannot say that I do not stand with the decision of the cabinet, I do not stand with the decision of the government. No, as a minister, you are supposed to act as a team. So if the government has said that yes, this particular thing should happen, then you as a minister should also agree with this. If you are not agreeing with the government, then you should resign, or you should say that yes, I agree with the government, but you cannot say no. Okay, so basically Council of Ministers is like a team. Okay, so this is the sixth feature, oath of secrecy. Now the seventh feature is double membership. The seventh feature is double membership. Now what is double membership? Double membership means a minister is a member of both the organs of the government. A minister is also a part of executive and also a part of legislature. Now we can compare this. Let us compare this with our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We all know Narendra Modi is our Prime Minister. So Prime Minister is part of executive. But we also know Narendra Modi is a member of Parliament from Varanasi. Narendra Modi Varanasi ke Sansad hai. Okay, member of Parliament in Hindi is called as Sansad. So, and as a member of Parliament, he is a member of legislature. So Narendra Modi is a member of legislature because he is a Sansad from Varanasi. member of parliament from Varanasi, and he's also a minister, so that is why he's executive, a part of executive. So remember, a minister is a member of both the organ of the government, and that is why we are calling it as double membership. So I hope this thing is clear, that why we call double membership, because the minister is a member of both the organs of the government. So I hope we are done with all the 7 features. So these were the 7 important features of parliamentary system, and even when it comes to exam, the question might come from these features only. That what are the features of parliamentary government? And remember, these are the 7 main features, and there is one more feature which is basically called as fusion of legislature and executive. Fusion of legislature and executive. See, in a parliamentary system, legislature and executive, they are fused. Why I am saying they are fused? Because executives are part of legislature. We see all the ministers sitting either in the Lok Sabha or in the Rajya Sabha, because all the ministers are member of parliament, or I should say all the ministers are member of legislature. So that is why on television, whenever you see that our prime minister or home minister is sitting in the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, why they are sitting in the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha? Because they are member of parliament, and that is why they are sitting there. Okay, so in India we have parliamentary system, and in parliamentary system, executive is a part of legislature. All the executive, that is ministers, are member of parliament. So I hope this thing is clear, that there is a fusion of legislature and executive. Now finally, parliamentary system is over. Now we can start with the new topic, that is federal system. And while discussing federal system, we will also see that what all are the unitary features of the constitution. So let us start the new topic, and that is federal system. Federal system. Okay. So just now we discussed parliamentary system, and in parliamentary system, what we said, that the difference between parliamentary and presidential is the element of responsibility. If the executive is responsible to the legislature, then it is parliamentary system, but if they are not responsible, then it is the presidential system. Now on what basis we decide whether the system is on what basis we decide whether the system is federal system or unitary system? Now the difference is, remember, see, we can divide the government into 2 types. The first is federal system, and the second is unitary system. Now, on what basis we can say that the system is federal or unitary? Now, many times students are confused. They are confused that, sir, recently you said that the government is of 2 types, parliamentary or presidential. And now again you are saying government is of 2 types, federal or unitary. Now, what is the difference? Remember, whether a government is federal or unitary, it all depends upon the relation between the center and states. Okay, what is the relation between the center and states in a country? That determines whether the system will be federal or unitary. Now let us see. If in a country all the power is with the center, then such a system is called as unitary. So in unitary system, all the powers are with center. And if state government exists in such a country, then the state government derives its power from the central government. Okay, so states government are at the mercy of the center. Suppose tomorrow center snatches all the power from the state, then the state are powerless. They have no power. So even in a unitary system, state government might exist, but their existence depends upon the mercy of state, or mercy of center, on the wish of the center, whether the center wants to give them power or it do not want to give them the power. So and in the federal system, what happens? The powers are divided between the center and the states. So in unitary system, all the powers are with center, and in federal system, the powers are divided between the center and the states. So in federal government, we will see 2 levels of government. The first is center and the second is state, because powers are divided between these 2. And now now we can say whether a system is parliamentary or presidential, it depends upon the nature of relation between the two organs of the government. So what was the difference between presidential and parliamentary? That difference depends upon the relation between executive and legislature. But when it comes to federal and when it comes to federal and unitary system, the answer is that the difference between the two depends upon the nature of relation between center and states. So we can write somewhere that in parliamentary system, the difference between parliamentary and presidential is the relation between the executive and legislature. And in federal system, it is about the relation between the center and states. So I hope now you are able to understand. I hope now you are able to understand the difference between the two. Okay. So I hope this particular thing is clear, that the difference between federal and unitary is it depends upon the relation between the center and the states, how the power is distributed between the center and the states. Now let us understand that in our country we have parliamentary system and there is also federal system. Okay, so according to our constitution, both federal features are present as well as unitary features are present. Now first we will discuss what all federal features are there in our constitution, and after this we will discuss what all unitary features are present in our constitution. So let us see first the federal features of the constitution. So first we will discuss the federal features of the constitution. Okay, I hope I hope this thing is clear, that in our country we have federal features as well as unitary features. Okay, so first we are discussing the federal features of the constitution, and the first federal feature of the constitution is dual polity. Now what is dual polity? Dual polity basically means two government. The first government is the center and the second government is state. Now we all know under the Indian constitution there are two government. Ideally there are three. The third is the local government, but we are not discussing local government at the present, because they are not a proper type of government, because ideally in a government you will find three organs of the government, but at the local level you won't find legislature, executive, judiciary. So right now we are discussing about the true form of government, which is the center and the state. So dual polity means two government. First is the center and the second is the state. Now Indian constitution establishes central government under part 5th of the constitution, and state government is established under part 6 of the constitution. So our constitution has established two form of government, one at the center and the second state. So this is the dual government. And second is division of powers. This is the second feature of federal this is the second federal feature, division of powers. Now what is division of powers? See, Indian constitution has established two. First is the central government and the second is the state government. Now it won't make any sense if these governments do not have the power. Suppose we established governments but they do not have the power, or there is no proper distribution of powers between the two government, then it cannot be called as a proper federal system. So in order to ensure that both the governments have their own power, that is why there is a arrangement in the constitution. Under the 7th schedule of the constitution, see, we all know that there are total 12 schedules. Originally there were 8 schedules, but now there are total 12 schedules in the constitution. So under the 7th schedule, there is an arrangement of distribution of power. How? See, under 7th schedule you will find 3 lists. The first list is union list. The second list is state list, and the third list is concurrent list. Okay, so remember, in the 7th schedule there are total 3 lists: union list, state list and concurrent list. Now union list means union list deals with those subjects on which only the parliament has the authority to make laws. States government do not have the authority to make laws on union list. And when it comes to state list, under normal circumstances, listen to this carefully. When I said union list, I said in union list, only the parliament has the authority to make laws. But when I said state list, I am saying under normal circumstances, only the state government has the power to make laws on state subject. Why I am saying this? Because under abnormal circumstances, the parliament has the authority to make laws on the state list. So, state government does not have the authority to make laws on union list, but the parliament has the authority to make laws on state list under exceptional circumstances. For example, when it comes to national emergency. So during national emergency, the parliament has the authority to make laws on state list. Or suppose when a state is under the president rule, in that case again the parliament can make laws on state list for that state. Or suppose two or more states request the parliament that that parliament should make a law for them, then the parliament can make a law for those states which have requested. Then suppose Rajya Sabha under Article 249 passes a resolution, then also the parliament has the authority to make laws on the state list. And suppose if for executing international agreement, again the parliament has the authority to make laws on state list. So yes, the parliament has the authority to make laws on state list, but there is no such case with the state government making laws on union list. So I hope this thing is clear, that parliament has the exclusive authority to make laws on union list. Under normal circumstances, state government has the exclusive authority to make laws on a state list. But when it comes to concurrent list, both center and states have the authority to make laws on concurrent list. And now suppose there is a conflict between the two. Suppose both center and state made a law on concurrent list and both the laws are in conflict. Then the law of center shall prevail. As per the constitution, if there is a conflict between the laws of center and the laws of state on a subject in the concurrent list, then in that case, the central law shall prevail. Okay. And one more thing. See, if there is any subject which is not mentioned in any of these lists, then such a subject is known as residuary subject. And the power to make law on residuary subject is vested in the parliament. So we can say parliament has the residuary power of legislation. Whenever you hear residuary power of legislation, first of all understand what is residuary. Residuary means residuary subject, the subject which is not mentioned in any of the list. So if a subject is not mentioned in any of the list, then such a subject is called as residuary subject, and the power to make law on such a subject is with the parliament. Okay, so this is called as residuary power of legislation. So this was the second feature, division of powers, and the division of powers is under the 7th schedule in the form of 3 list. Now the third feature is written constitution. See, it is important that all these things are written somewhere. If these things are not codified, or if these things are not written somewhere, then it will be difficult even for states to convince that they have the power to make law on this particular thing. If the things are written somewhere, then the state's government have the guarantee or surety that yes, we can make law on this particular subject because it is written somewhere. But if the subjects are not written anywhere, suppose nothing is written, then how come the state governments are going to claim that they exercise control over this particular thing? So if state government wants to exercise control, or they want to have the authority over a particular thing, then that particular thing should be written somewhere. If the things are not written, then the things are not certain. So written constitution is necessary in order to ensure that the system remains federal. Otherwise, central government will try to overtake state government. Central government will try to interfere in each and every areas where this state government tries to exercise its jurisdiction. So this was the written constitution. Now the fourth federal feature is the supremacy of the constitution. Supremacy of the constitution. Now, why I am saying supremacy of the constitution? Now, suppose there is a constitution, and in that constitution there are two levels of government, central government and state government. Then there is a distribution of powers in that constitution, and the constitution written, but that constitution is not supreme. So if the constitution is not supreme, it means the central government is supreme, and if the central government is supreme, then it is not going to obey whatever it is written in the constitution. So suppose the constitution expect the central government to exercise restraint whenever possible, but if the constitution is of no value, then the central government is going to do whatever it wants to do. So the constitution should be supreme. If the constitution is not supreme, then the state government will be under threat. The autonomy of state government will be under threat if the constitution is not supreme, because it is the constitution which is giving them autonomy, which is giving them the surety that yes, you also exist, you also have the power. And why you have the power? Because I am supreme. If the constitution is not supreme, then there is no guarantee that the state's government will have the power. Okay. So supremacy of the constitution is important to ensure federal feature of the constitution remains. And who will ensure the supremacy of the constitution? And that is why I said that the judiciary should be independent. It is the task of judiciary to ensure that the constitution remains supreme. So I can write this separately, that the fifth federal feature is independent judiciary. Only when the judiciary is independent, the supremacy can be ensured. So who will ensure the supremacy of the constitution? It is the independent judiciary. Why I am saying independent? Because if we have committed judiciary, then that committed judiciary is always going to say yes, or is always going to follow the direction of the executive, that is the center. So that is why judiciary should always remain independent, and independent judiciary is in the best position to ensure that the constitution remain supreme. And if the constitution remains supreme, then the state government will have the surety that yes, they also exist and they also have the separate power. Okay. So independent judiciary is important for ensuring supremacy of the constitution. Now, sixth feature is rigid constitution. Now, what is the meaning of rigid constitution? We discussed this in the features of the constitution. While discussing the features of the constitution, we discussed a feature called as blend of rigidity and flexibility. Now remember, Indian constitution is rigid as well as flexible. Now when I say rigid, it means the provision of the constitution can be amended, but for amending that provision, we require a special majority. So it is possible to amend the rigid constitution, but for amending a rigid constitution, you require a special majority. And when it comes to the flexible constitution, so the flexible provisions of the constitution can be amended only by using simple majority. So rigid constitution means the provisions of the constitution can be amended, but only by using a special majority. And why rigid constitution is a federal feature? Because if the things are not rigid, so it means the things are flexible. And if the things are flexible, then it is quite easy for the government to change the constitution or to amend the provisions of the constitution. Now suppose in the 7th schedule, we all know in the 7th schedule there is division of powers. We know there is division of power in the 7th schedule. Now suppose this 7th schedule is the flexible part of the constitution. Now what will happen? Only parliament has the authority. It means only the central government has the authority to amend the constitution. 7th schedule is also a part of the constitution. So suppose the 7th schedule is flexible in nature. So it means parliament can easily amend the 7th schedule, and in 7th schedule there are total 3 lists: union list, state list and concurrent list. And now if it is flexible, then what will happen? Parliament, by amending the 7th schedule, can merge all these 3 lists into one, and that will be union list. So all these 3 lists will be merged, or simply parliament can abolish the state list and concurrent list by amending the 7th schedule, and only one list will exist, and that will be the union list. and if only the union list exists, so it means the power to make laws is only with the union government, that is parliament, then all of a sudden the state's government will be left without any power to make any law. Their legislature will be of no use. So if the thing is flexible, if these kind of provisions are flexible, then it is very easy for the parliament to assume all the powers. So remember, there are certain provisions in our constitution which are not flexible, which are rigid. So you can amend the provision, but it requires a special majority, and it is not an easier task for the government to achieve a special majority. A special majority means 2/3 majority of the members present and voting in the house and majority of the total membership of the house. So this is a special majority and is difficult to achieve. So that is why these provisions fall under the rigid category and not flexible category. So such provisions are rigid in nature. You cannot easily amend such provisions. Okay. So I think we are done with the no, there's one more feature remaining in the federal feature, and that is the seventh feature, and it is bicameralism. Now, what is bicameralism? See, bicameralism is also a feature of federal system. Now, why I am saying it is a feature of federal system? First, you understand what is the meaning of bicameralism. Bi means two, cameral means house. So, bicameralism means two house. Now, these two houses are first is Lok Sabha and the second is Rajya Sabha. Now, why I am saying that bicameralism is a federal feature? Why it is a federal feature? See, Lok Sabha represents the people of India. At the center, Lok Sabha is there to represent the people of India. So, who will represent the states at the level of center? So, at the central level, who will represent the interest of state? Rajya Sabha. It is through Rajya Sabha that states can represent themselves in the at the center. Sorry. Okay. So Rajya Sabha represents the interest of the state. Rajya Sabha protects the interest of the state. So whenever Parliament is trying to make any law which is against the wishes of the state, then what will happen? It is through Rajya Sabha that the state government will oppose any bill introduced by Lok Sabha. Okay. So whenever anything happens which is against the interest of a state, then through Rajya Sabha, the states can act. Okay. So that is why we have a house, we have a mechanism through which states can represent themselves. Okay. So I hope, I think this particular thing is clear, that why we are saying Rajya Sabha is a federal feature, because states can represent itself in the parliament. Okay. So any law made by the parliament which is against the state, then there is Rajya Sabha to protest against the state. Okay. So I think we are done with the federal features of the constitution. So now let me summarize each and everything. First, we started with parliamentary system, and in the parliamentary system, we discussed that the difference between the parliamentary system and presidential system. The difference between the parliamentary and presidential system is that whenever the executive is responsible to the legislature, then that system is called as parliamentary system, and whenever the executive is not responsible to the legislature, then that system is known as a presidential system. So the difference between the parliamentary and presidential system is the element of responsibility. In parliamentary, you will find responsibility, and in presidential, there is no responsibility. Now, we also studied that parliamentary system is known by three different names. The first is responsible government, the second is cabinet government, and the third is Westminster model of government. We also discussed that parliamentary system is present at both the level, center and states. Then, what were the features of the parliamentary system? So the first feature of the parliamentary system was nominal and real executive. The second was collective responsibility. Third was majority party rule. Fourth was double membership. Fifth was oath of secrecy. And sixth was dissolution of lower house. And last was leadership of prime minister or chief minister. So these were the these were the features of parliamentary system. And in federal system, first we discussed that what is the difference between the federal system and unitary system. In federal system, so the difference between the federal and unitary system is the relation between the center and the state. Now, if in a country all the powers are vested in the center, and if the state government exists, then those state government are deriving its authority from the center. So whenever all the powers are with the center, then such a system is called as unitary system. For example, Britain. But whenever the powers are divided between the two central states, then such a system is called as federal system. We can see, take example of USA, India. These are the example of federal system. Okay, so now we discussed, after this we discussed the federal features of the constitution, and the federal features of the constitution was, first feature was the dual polity, which means the two government, one at the center and the second the states. Then we saw division of powers. Why division of powers? Because it's important. If you are establishing two governments, then you should also give powers to the government. If the governments do not have the power, then there is no use of establishing any government. So division of power under the 7th schedule. Then the constitution should be written, the constitution should be supreme, the constitution should be rigid in nature, the judiciary should be independent to ensure the supremacy of the constitution. And at the last, what we discussed, I just forgot. Yes, bicameralism. And bicameralism means Rajya Sabha is there to protect the interest of the state whenever parliament tries to make any law which is against the interest of states. So I think we are done with the federal features of the constitution. See, ideally tomorrow we are going to start the emergency provisions, but first we will complete the unitary features of the constitution, and after completing unitary features of the constitution, we will start with emergency provisions. Okay, so we are done for the day, and tomorrow same timing from 8:30 to 9:30 we will start with the unitary features of the constitution. Okay, so thank you everyone.